What is going on, everyone? Anthony here, and welcome back to another video here covering Resident Evil 4 Remake. And in today's video, I wanted to discuss cut content. It's a big discussion around Resident Evil remakes because Resident Evil 3 Remake had a lot of uproar in the community. I myself loved Resident Evil 3 Remake. I still noticed the flaws that it had, like not having the clock tower and stuff like that. Resident Evil 3 Original was my favorite game of all time, and the clock tower is my favorite section in that game. But I still saw the good in that game, and I still really enjoyed Resident Evil 2 Remake, even with the scenario system that I wasn't really happy with in Resident Evil 2, the A and B not being actually A and B or really necessary at that point. So there's little things here and there that we can, talk about and discuss. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that Resident Evil 3 Remake caused was a lot of discussion on whether or not cut content in remakes, reimaginings, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be a big talking piece in whether or not is it necessary? Is it supposed to be there? Can they do it like that? You know what I mean? Can they redo it? And at the end of the day, I won't be too concerned if they change some stuff on the island. I always thought that the pacing on the island was a little janky, a little weird. I like the horror elements, like the regenerators, don't get me wrong, but I always thought that it was, the action got tuned up a little bit too much and there wasn't as much of a balance. I like action and horror, don't get me wrong. Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. But even in saying that, I still recognize that there are certain things that, are a little bit dated and they can be changed. But even with me saying that, I'll still go back and I'll press a bunch of QuickTime events. You know what I mean? I don't mind doing that, even though I can say, all right, it doesn't really work. I can still go back and play them. I can still go back and play the fixed camera angle games because I love the originals. Resident Evil Remake 2002 is my favorite remake of all time. And Resident Evil 3, the original, is my favorite game of all time. So when these things get remade, you obviously have the, the ideas in your head, like, okay, is it going to live up to X, Y, and Z, or whatever points you kind of have in your head that are like, all right, it has to hit these marks, right? One of the biggest things it has to live up to is the big name of Resident Evil 4, because that got casual people into Resident Evil. It really changed gaming forever. Developers looked at it completely differently with the, third person over the shoulder. It was definitely very different. And I think a lot of people at the end of the day, they just don't want to see the image of Resident Evil 4, I guess, tarnished in a way. They don't want to see it ruined. And my answer to that is, look, the originals are always there on the shelf. They're always there if you own them or get them digitally, however you have to get them on, whatever you have to play them on, right? But at the end of the day, I understand the concern. Like, they don't want to see, but I know it is a reimagining. They are going to, change some stuff that hopefully might flow a little bit better. But I'm not out here saying, like, they're going to cut content. It's going to be like this. Like, I don't really... I think that they will handle it really well. Resident Evil 2 didn't have any cut content. This is the same team. There's a lot of moments where I can think to myself, okay, they can easily tweak this, and it will be like, it won't really harm, what Resident Evil 4 is. And I don't think it's going to be short, because that's the biggest thing. Like, cut content, and it's going to be shorter. That is like a lot of the comments that I've been getting and just reading. Like, I go on other videos too and I read, like, I'll go on like the trailer and then I'll read the comments, because sometimes, you can see some funny, arguments, and then sometimes you can see some points you're like, okay, I'm just trying to see stuff from different perspectives too. It's the same way in the comments too. So I know it could, it could be a little heated sometimes, and whether or not this is cut and this is necessary to be cut and this and that. But we will see. I don't want to jump the gun and just say I'm not looking forward to it because Resident Evil 3 Remake, when I really liked Resident Evil 3 Remake. So you'll never hear me saying that, but I can still recognize that what they did change, in my opinion, I was like, damn, like that did suck. And I definitely wish that that stuff was in there. But I still recognize the games for what they were and play them inside out. So let me know down in the comments about Resident Evil 4 Remake and the cut content. Do you want it to be trimmed down a little bit? Do you want the island to be changed? Do you want them to keep it exactly the same? Please let me know. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell. And stay tuned on the channel as the road to Resident Evil 4 Remake continues. A big shout out to everyone that supports me on Patreon and YouTube memberships. YouTube members grants you access to voting on content with custom badges and emojis for chats. Patreon gives you the same voting privilege, but even more. Gain access to uncut recording sessions, weekly exclusive Patreon shows, and live hangouts on Patreon. Tiers start at just $1. Thank you so much for your support, and I will catch you next time.